Hello, everyone, and thank you for being part of the History Crew. This is part three in the series, which consists of 6 videos, in which I will be discussing for the grade 12's topic 5, the coming of democracy in South Africa. So please ensure, though, that you have watched parts 1 and 2 first before you watch this particular video. I would also appreciate if you would hit the subscribe button and share with your friends because I will be posting more videos on this topic and other topics in the future. Let us begin by just bringing back some perspective. The ANC and NP leadership met twice in 1990 in what became known as the talks about talks. These were just bilateral talks because they only involved the ANC and the National Party and no other political group. And due to the many problems in the country, no formal negotiations were actually set for the remainder of 1990 and even well into 1991. The ongoing violence, especially, was preventing this from happening. Their members were attacking and killing each other in the streets. So, how could the leaders sit comfortably at a table and conduct effective negotiations? An important step in the right direction to stop the violence was the signing of the National Peace Accords by 27 political, trade union, and government leaders in September 1991. However, this too was not entirely effective because the PAC, AZAPO, Conservative Party, and AWB did not want to sign. The ANC and National Party leadership also came to another important compromise by taking the decision to include all other major political organizations moving forward. And so, on 2nd December 1991, 19 major political parties eventually met at the World Trade Center in Kempton Park to discuss a new political dispensation for the country. This would become known as the Convention for a Democratic South Africa, or CODESA. When CODESA convened on 2nd December 1991, it was very significant because something like this had never ever been attempted before. Most of the members there also agreed to sign a document called the Declaration of Intent to show their commitment to the process. They were making a promise that they would not stop until they fully achieved their goals. However, there were some immediate setbacks. The IFP as a political party and Bophuthatswana as an independent homeland chose not to sign the declaration for their own personal reasons. This immediately created a challenge for CODESA to operate effectively. Another challenge moving forward was the fact that some political parties, such as the Conservative Party and the Pan African Congress, chose not to take part at all in CODESA. So CODESA was immediately on the back foot because some major role players were not part of the process or were not even fully committed to the process. The CODESA talks started in an atmosphere of cooperation, and they reached a compromise agreement about drawing up the new constitution. But you must remember that there was a lot of underlying tensions between the members themselves. For example, in the picture you will see F.W. de Klerk and Nelson Mandela smiling and shaking hands, but you do not see the tension between them. One of the reasons for this was the ANC believing that the NP was instigating the violence in the townships and causing clashes between the ANC and IFP members on the streets. So you must understand that these negotiations will not be simple at all. They do determine that CODESA would be a two-stage process. Stage one being this multi-party conference in which they would draw up an interim constitution. Interim means temporary because they had to remove the apartheid laws and new legislation had to be put in place until the first democratic parliament was elected. Then, during stage two, this new democratic parliament would draft the final constitution for the country. Most of the participants at CODESA began by electing working groups to continue discussions on the principles for a new constitution, arrangements for an interim government to rule the country until elections could be held, the future of the homelands, and they also had to decide a timeline for the introduction of the changes, knowing that they could not implement all the changes at once. CODESA was also significant because the role of trade unions in the negotiation process was an important one and could not be ignored. It was during the 1980s that COSATU was responsible for coordinating all the workers in the plan for rolling mass action, which eventually crippled the apartheid economy and perhaps forcing the apartheid government to the negotiating table in the first place. Members of the ANC, like for example Cyril Ramaphosa, were part of the trade union movement as well. So a strong alliance was formed between the ANC, the South African Communist Party, and COSATU, which became known as the Tripartite Alliance. The Tripartite Alliance between the ANC, SACP, COSATU made them a much stronger force at CODESA. There were also important decisions made by other leaders other than F.W. de Klerk and Nelson Mandela. At CODESA, a major decision was taken to officially end the armed struggle, and this shows a major compromise between the leadership at the meeting. But other leaders were involved, such as Chris Hani and Mac Maharaj. They were leaders in the MK and responsible for planning the armed struggle. It was on their advice that the armed struggle was officially ended, and in doing so, the National Party could not accuse them anymore of promoting violence.
This is the first time in 78 years that a truly serious meeting takes place between delegations of the African National Congress and the succession of white governments that have ruled our country for generations.
We wanted to build a bridge that would take our country from white minority rule to a democratic system based on one person, one vote.
The first part of it, called CODESA, the parties really were feeling out each other.
An organization which remains committed to an armed struggle cannot be trusted completely when it also commits itself to peacefully negotiated solutions.
De Klerk took a rather strong stand on that. The old man was furious.
I am gravely concerned about the behavior of Mr. de Klerk. He has launched an attack on the African National Congress, and in doing so, he has been less than frank.
Until then, the overwhelming majority of the black people of South Africa, the oppressed, had no faith in negotiations. But when FW gave that opening and Madiba hit back,
Even the head of an illegitimate, discredited minority regime as his has certain moral standards to uphold.
All of a sudden, everybody knew the ANC is a force to take into account. They are strong. They are not going to be dictated to.
they saw that no, this is a man who is leading a team whose commitment to our freedom is unquestionable, and he is not going to surrender. Overnight, confidence of South Africans in the potential of negotiations was born.
We are still prepared to have discussions with him if he wants, but he must forget that he can impose conditions on the African National Congress.
And so let us bring to conclusion part 3 by remembering some key aspects. Firstly, the ANC and NP leadership agreed to include all other political parties and organizations. CODESA began on the 2nd of December 1991, which included 19 political parties and organizations. Most delegations agreed to sign the Declaration of Intent. However, the IFP and Bophuthatswana chose not to sign. The Conservative Party and PAC chose not to take part at CODESA at all. A two-stage process was decided on, and working committees were established. The role of trade unions was important, and finally, the breakdown of CODESA. I thank you for watching, and please remember to hit the subscribe button and share with your friends, because I will be posting more videos in the future. A big thanks to all of you for being part of the History Crew. As a History Crew member, just remember that you have the power to change the world. And as a crew member, you must believe in yourself, because even just one person can change the world. And that one person is you. Thanks for watching.